Hello, good morning and welcome. You're watching Times Now. I'm Sagarika Mitra. Let's get you up to speed with the top developments taking place with regards to the war in West Asia. In the top development number one that we're tracking at this hour, it is Mojtaba, who has been elected as Iran's supreme leader. And Donald Trump says that Iran currently is weak. We must hit them now. IDF has launched a fresh wave of airstrikes on Iran. Israel is striking the south of Beirut, and we have more pictures coming in. The President of the United States is slamming Iran's evil ideology. Reports are also coming in of loud explosions that have been heard once again in Dubai. In another development that we are tracking at this moment, a blast has been heard near the US consulate in Dubai and no injuries have been reported. Iranian missiles have hit US bases at Al Udeid. Then we also know that drones have hit the US embassy in Riyadh. The IDF is also striking about 60 Hezbollah targets in Lebanon. These are the top developments of the hour, but we shift our focus to what the President of the United States has said. Now, it is the fifth day of the war in the Middle East, and neither side is planning to back down just yet. So US President Donald Trump is now claiming that United States has destroyed Iran's military infrastructure and its top leadership. In fact, in the last few hours itself, the United States has also claimed that it has struck buildings that are housing Iran's assembly of experts. This is the very panel that selects the supreme leader of the country. US President Donald Trump is also making it clear that the nation has enough military armaments in stockpile to go on fighting for as long as it wants. And he's also saying that we, that is the United States of America, can fight wars forever.
And they had no problems with it. Also hitting only civilian places, hotels and apartment buildings, and we're hitting them where it is much more appropriate. We're hitting them very hard. And the big scale hitting goes now. They no longer have air protection. They no longer have any detection facilities at all left, and so they're gonna be in for a lot of hurt. As you see very well, they have no Navy; it's been knocked out. They have no Air Force; it's been knocked out. They have no air detection; that's been knocked out. Their radar has been knocked out, and just about everything's been knocked out. So we'll see how we do, but we're doing very well. We have a great military.
But does the President of the United States have a clear strategy? What is going to be the end goal of the war in the Middle East? Over the past 1 week, statements have come in from the President and senior officials in the United States, and these statements are showing stark contradictions. There is a contrast when it comes to talks with Iran, who started the war, strike decisions, and also the ultimate objectives. Now, from pledges of dialogue to claims of forcing Israel's hand, the messaging is all over. What is, what are these contradictions about? We've mapped them out and we're going to take you through them. Let's explain the contradictions that have been coming in. What is the clear strategy? Is Operation Epic Fury a bundle of contradictions? So when it comes to talks with Iran, what did Donald Trump say? On the 1st of March to the Atlantic, Donald Trump said they, that is Iran, want to talk and have agreed to talk. So I will be talking to them. This is what he said. Now let's take you through a quick flip-flop. On the 3rd of March, that's just 2 days later, during a press briefing, he said they want to talk. Who is they? Iran. And I said it's too late. Have you seen the contradiction there? Then on the question of who began the war, Pete Hegseth, who's Secretary of War, on the 2nd of March 2026 said, we didn't start this war, but under President Trump, we are going to finish it. We didn't start the war. Remember that. What did US President Donald Trump say on the 3rd of March, just 1 day after Pete Hegseth's statement? He said, I think they, that is Iran, were going to attack first, and I didn't want that to happen. So if anything, I might have forced Israel's hand. So just look at the contradiction on that front. Then when it comes to the decision to strike Iran, the Secretary of State, Marco Rubio, on the 2nd of March said, we knew there was going to be an Israeli action. We knew that would precipitate an attack against American forces. And we knew that if we didn't preemptively go after them before they launched those attacks, we would suffer higher casualties. Now, keep this in mind. Now, let's take you through what US President Donald Trump said. He said, I think they, Iran, were going to attack first, and I didn't want that to happen. So if anything, I might have forced Israel's hand. So constant contradictions on three different aspects, on the decision to strike, on who started the war. So is Operation Epic Fury, is there no end, is there no clear objective? Let me introduce my guests who are joining us this morning. Sushant Sareen, Senior Fellow at the ORF. Colonel Mahesh Ramchandran, retired defense expert, also with us. The retired Lieutenant General Sanjay Kulkarni, defense expert, also joining us on this broadcast. And Peter Kuznick, author and professor of history and director of nuclear studies at the Institute of American University. Thank you so much for joining me on this broadcast. Let me open this conversation with Mr. Sushant Sareen. We've showed you the kind of contradictions in the last few days itself. So do you also believe, Mr. Sareen, that is Operation Epic Fury actually a clear military strategy of the United States, or are we watching Washington stumble into this kind of a war without any clear agenda or a clear objective?
No, I think the objective was very clear, but as far as the policy is concerned, they are making it as they go along, depending on how the battlefield is playing out. I think the objective was to defang Iran, to emasculate it, to make sure that Iran does not pose a threat to Israel, to any of the other countries in the region. But they're not quite sure how to go about it, because once you started the conflict, then, the other side also gets a vote. And perhaps there is definitely an element of miscalculation on what Iranian capabilities are and what the Iranian capacity to take the fight to the other side is. And clearly that's playing out. And I'm not entirely sure if the Iranians can inflict such unacceptable damage on the other side to make them back off just yet. Maybe in another couple of days we'll figure that out. But it certainly seems that the Iranian capability to inflict damage has come as a bit of a surprise. Also, the fact that the kind of targets they have selected, and very deliberately targeting many of the Arab countries which are close allies of the United States, and giving the message that, look, the US umbrella is not enough to protect you guys. So quite clearly that part is happening, but we just have to wait and see how the war proceeds. One factor, and I wish one of my colleagues was to give us some information on that, and I might be entirely wrong on what I'm going to say. But over the last 1 or 2 days, what we have seen the Iranians firing are mostly drones. We haven't seen so many ballistic missiles being fired, unless I've got it wrong. And that raises the question whether the stockpiles are running short or the launchers are running short as far as Iran is concerned, or are the Iranians expending the opposition's air defense capabilities by sending in cheaper drones before they start inflicting unacceptable damage with ballistic missiles? That remains to be seen, but this is just something which I was noticing. It's very probably sketchy what I'm saying right now, but maybe if somebody has more information and correct me.
Okay. Let me bring in Professor Kuznick. Professor Kuznick, do you agree with that assessment or that observation of Sushant Sareen? And also, I want to get a sense from you. So the United States has been saying from the very beginning that Operation Epic Fury is about destroying Iran's missile and nuclear capability. Now, from a historical perspective, do preemptive strikes like these actually stop nuclear programs, or do they often push countries, especially like Iran, to pursue nuclear weapons even more aggressively?
First, let me respond to what Sushant said. This is a smart strategy for Iran. From what I know, the Iranian drones cost about $25,000 each. The U.S. interceptors that are used to shoot them down cost anywhere from between $1 million and some of them up to $30 million for these interceptors. So, of course, Iran would be very smart to shoot up a $25,000 drone and have the United States destroy it with a $1 million or $5 million interceptor. Maybe what Sushant is suggesting in terms of a broader strategy is exactly what the Iranians are doing. We don't know, because nobody really knows how much
capability Iran has. And if they're going to run out before the United States and Israel and its allies in the region run out of interceptors. But in terms of the second part of the question, what U.S. says are the reasons and the truth. Trump initially made 3 points. One, Iran had restarted its nuclear enrichment. The IAEA says that's not true, and there's no evidence to support that. Number two, that Iran was getting dangerously close to a nuclear weapon. And Witkoff, the chief negotiator, said that within a week, Iran would have enough enriched uranium to build a bomb. That's not true at all. Every expert in the world knows that that is lies. The CIA said Iran dropped its nuclear weapons program in 2003. We know that Khamenei had a fatwa against nuclear weapons. Under the JCPOA, there was so much surveillance and investigations, we knew exactly what was happening. And then Trump blew that up. That was working perfectly. And the third lie that Trump told was that Iran is building an intercontinental ballistic missile and will have it soon that can reach the United States. The U.S.'s own Defense Intelligence Agency recently said that it would take Iran at least 10 years to have a missile that could reach the United States, if it even wanted to build one or start that kind of program, which it now doesn't apparently have. So you can't listen, you can't believe what Trump says. The man is a little bit deranged. If you heard his explanation yesterday in the Oval Office of why we're going to war, in the middle of it, he goes off on this tangent about the drapes in the White House and about the rebuilding of the East Wing and how the pile drivers are driving Melania crazy. He's done this repeatedly. This is not a healthy man. In one of his rants, this was a birthday celebration, a new Christmas celebration at the White House with friends and family. And in the middle of it, he goes off on a 6-minute tangent about poisonous snakes in Peru. And he says that 28,000 people die a year from poisonous snake bites in Peru. So people looked it up. And in the last 15 years, a total of 10 people have died in Peru from poisonous snake bites, not the 420,000. So this is not a well man.
But Professor
but he's got
Kasnik,
access
that's Donald Trump, unpredictable. Nobody knows what he's going to do next. Let me also bring in Colonel Mahesh Ramachandran. Now, we are talking about the claims that are being made by the United States of America. And yes, we've shown you the contradictions. Many have weighed in on the temperament of Donald Trump. But here we are in the middle of a conflict which has larger and wider global implications. Now, if Iran's military has been crippled, as being claimed by the President of the United States, how is it that many are asking that Tehran is still managing to strike American assets and energy targets across the Gulf? And for this, we have to also consider what Sushant has been saying. What is Iran actually using a strategy which America did not think about?
Yeah, good morning. Very happy Holi to you, everyone, and your listeners. I am reminded of what Winston Churchill said about America, that they do the right things after having done everything else wrong. That's playing out here. I also find that the muscular statements coming out from the White House, I find that Trump has definitely lost some bluster. So the body language suggests that. Now, as far as this war is concerned, you made a point. Everybody is saying we didn't start it, we are going to finish. Iran said it, the US said it, Israel said it. So who started it, how it's going to end, we don't know. We also, let's not kid ourselves. This war didn't start 5 days back. This war didn't even start in June. This war has got nothing to do with Iran's nuclearization or Iran's ballistic missile development program. So this war is only about the control of the Middle East and to control the oil and to ensure that the petrodollars are preserved. So that, at least that's what I feel. Now, so you saw what happened in Venezuela, and you're seeing it in Iraq. So, as far as to answer Mr. Sareen's question, why are they not using ballistic missile? I guess they are saving their best for last, which is how any strategist would go about it. As far as the rule-based order is concerned, that just went out of the window.
All right.
Let's face it.
Now, let's also shift our focus to what's happening in Iran, and we have to get our viewers up to speed with the latest because we're talking about Mujtaba Hosseini Khamenei, the son of Ayatollah Khamenei, who has been elected as the next supreme leader of Iran. And this is as per reports in the international media. Now, he was chosen as Khamenei's successor by Iran's Assembly of Experts. We also know that Khamenei, who ruled the country for about 36 years, was killed in the joint US-Israel strikes on the 28th when he was in his compound. Along with him, his daughter, his son-in-law and granddaughter were killed. Khamenei's wife also died after succumbing to wounds that she sustained during the airstrikes. Now, today, Khamenei will be buried in the holy city of Mashhad, and a large farewell ceremony will be held in Tehran. Now, IRGC has said in a post on Telegram that this is how they are planning to go about when it comes to the final rites and the farewell that they are going to accord to Khamenei. But yes, Iran is going through a movement of transition. And what does this mean? Lieutenant General Kulkarni, if you want to come in, do you think this is going to be a tipping point with this huge farewell that is going to be held today for Khamenei? What next for Iran?
Sagarika, thank you. As my co-panelist said, happy Holi to everybody. First and foremost, with Mujtaba as the supreme leader, expect no change. Just no change whatsoever. Secondly, if we are looking for the kind of epic fury, that fury has to be backed with fire if you want something like swift and decisive. Otherwise, this war will get extended for no rhyme or reason. Thirdly, the Iranians were very much prepared for what was coming their way. If anybody says that we didn't know what Iran had, well, we are, we were up the gum tree, and put it absolutely boldly and blankly. Fifthly, let me be honest about it, Iran's on the back foot. Iran actually can do nothing right now at this point of time, rather than extend the war as much as it can. You can't have boots on ground. Iran's let us down by not standing up to as being a good civilizational state. America has let us down by not being a good democracy and not following the rule of law. Having said that, Iran has also blundered. As long as Iran would have hit the bases of America in West Asia, it would have been perfectly fine. Since this thing has gone a little beyond it, they started hitting the civilian targets, maybe unintentionally because they may have no control over the command and control because it may be just free for all. The end of it would be a civilizational crisis. They have pitted Arabs versus the Persians. So this is not going to be easy for Iran to handle. With Mujtaba, his family having got lost, nothing existing of him, he alone, he was 10 years of age when the Iranian Revolution took place. So he's very familiar with what his father thought about it, and he will continue with it. Now, at this point of time, there are no sane. Is the IRGC in control, and he himself has been the controller of Basij in Iran. With this under control, IRGC controlling it. What do we expect?
Right.
We expect Iran given? No way. Iran will fight, and Americans and the Israelis will have to go hell for leather if they want something in the next 1 week.
Yes.
Otherwise,
Lieutenant General Kulkarni, I apologize. I have to interject you because we have some